Hello and welcome. Most recently, Alex Iwobi was nominated as Player of the Month. Last season, he was closer to not getting a game than being of starting lineup caliber. And today, we'll be breaking down how he went from bench warmer to brilliance, or something like that. If we take a look at what happened in the first 22 match days of the season when Rafa Benitez was in charge, you'll see a number of match days where he wasn't playing, and he never strings more than 2 somewhat full games of football together. And it's really tough to gain consistency if you're in that situation. And you're seeing a number of short cameos where there isn't really any time to make an impact. You're just trying to ease in, and as you do, the final whistle is blown. But to be quite honest, I don't think this is the biggest issue. The biggest issue lied with mismanagement. Identifying strengths of Iwobi has come with reward, and simply put, Lampard permitting Iwobi to apply his strengths on match day has paid dividends. If you look at Alex Iwobi under Frank Lampard, you can see a number of differences. The first, he didn't miss a game in 2 months. The second, he played a full 90 minutes in every single one of those games. And thirdly, closed off the season having played the same position for 3 straight weeks. This comes down to the player instilling confidence in his manager to pick him, and the manager giving the player confidence by involving and believing in him. We can take this for face value, but the best way to do things is look at some film and see what I mean. Now, especially if we look at the Rafa tenure, you'll see a number of things. Iwobi simply doesn't get enough touches. His role in the team is to close down, not to commit to a tackle. His teammates don't utilise him enough. He's tucked into a corner constantly, crammed, and his imagination is limited as a result. He doesn't get to own a part of the pitch. He feels obligated to leave that duty to other players, and rightfully so. Obviously, as a winger, he owns a flank, but if the ball ventures into centre midfield, it feels like he's sort of obligated to leave that one to the centre midfielders to deal with. Under Rafa Benitez, Everton struggled for possession, which doesn't help his cause at all playing forward. There's shit end product going forward, so, long balls and crosses and stuff like that. So it meant less quality touches. And from a managerial perspective, the failure to identify strengths. And you're going to see a lot of these symptoms here. If we cast our memories back to Everton Leeds, the first meeting in game week 2, a 2-2 draw, I did some observing. Alex Iwobi from minutes 16 to 36, that's including stoppages for the penalty and the goal we scored, he had 4. Yes, 4 touches. Here's the first, the second, the third, and the fourth. You can see he either has no impact or shows hints of attacking intent, which we are accustomed to now. The fourth touch is a prime example of that. Now, we regrettably look at Watford Everton in the Rafa stint. Iwobi came on for 15 minutes, and yes, we conceded 4 times. You see on the concession of this goal, he's merely a spectator. Here, he's crammed in the corner for room, no way out, and no opportunity for creativity. It happens again later on in the piece as well. You can also see another weakness is being maximised. Shooting. He didn't even get off the ground for this attempt. And once again, on 2 occasions in the same passage, he's subjected to watch as the midfield and the backline make absolute fools of themselves, whilst he might as well be in the stand on the far side. Terrible. We talk about Alex Iwobi's shooting ability, Rafa playing him as a winger when he dished up all this in 1 game. Especially when you need attacking threat from your wingers, pretty much everything I've shown from the Rafa era is detrimental to that. Absolute sitter here, and just the really irrational shot here. God, I don't even know if it was a shot. Another problem with Rafa's style was the sit-back counter-attack mantra. You can see here there's no desire to pressure, it's to close out and be present, but that's so counterproductive. We only know different from him now. God, my eyes are absolutely bleeding watching that. So let's move on to the Frank Lampard era. And it was more transitional at the end of the last season from when he was shit to now. Sure, we were grinding out results, but we saw major leaps. Frank freed him from the shackles that was the wing position, and now he could play make, he could game break, and he could make a major impact. Now I want you to remember those 4 touches he got in those 20 minutes of action against Leeds. Within 20 seconds of the action in the Man United game, he had 2 and could have had a 3rd. That sets the tone for this segment. Whilst he predominantly played on the right side, he was given more license to go central. The infamous Newcastle goal last year was an example. The ability to skip past defenders was a confidence level we hadn't seen, and a confidence level we regularly see now. You can also just see his ability to be magnetized to opportunity creation. Some of these touches don't seem impactful at first glance, but there's a common factor in all these clips, and it's that genuine goal-scoring opportunities are created. And Iwobi usually is the facilitator and the kickstarter. Then there's the notable passing we saw glimpses of in the Rafa era. They're all forward-thinking, some are perfectly weighted, and he would have been on the receiving end of more assists if his teammates could hit a barn door. These weren't exclusive to the Frank era, like this scoop for example. But when he's sitting in this position, completely forgotten about, what is he supposed to do? It's terrible judgment by Rafa at the time, when it clearly wasn't working, and it looks even more worse now. The most accurate indicator of Alex Iwobi's development can be probably seen in his best game of the year, the most recent fixture against West Ham. This clip here, Iwobi presses Souček and forces an error, then makes the run but gets a tad unlucky. Cast your memory back to this, and now you see this, and I rest my case. Game plans change by manager, and Frank has standards, but still, you've got to execute, and that endeavour has come a long way. Something you'll notice is that he has good awareness and pitch smarts. He identifies the space early and constantly serves as an option. As per old performances, crossing isn't his strong suit, but this new freedom given by Frank doesn't mean he can't roam forward or venture to the wings as we've seen. He keeps things unpredictable, does Alex? Here, you can see what Alex would have done in the past versus now. Looks back, swivels and marginally moves the play forward. Once again a game plan, but a game plan that suits him. And now I cut across to the Iwobi and Everton of old, the infamous back pass. See what that does? It just invites trouble, especially with the subtle press by the opposition. Simply put, why go back when you can just go forward? Hold your horses. Remember that endeavour thing we mentioned. See where the ball's heading, and see where Iwobi is. Look at the closeout and the angle he goes at. He not only holds Fornals accountable, but that open part of the pitch no longer seems a viable option for the attacker. Smart play by Iwobi. The passing we saw from last season, here it is again. The precision, but not only that, the pace on the ball. 2 characteristics, such a far cry from the passing of last season. Rafa, are you listening to this? And here's the passage for the goal. It starts with Mope, but Iwobi serves as the insurance as 2 close down. Notice its positive passing and that IQ to identify the space that gets Iwobi the impactful play. Another pass akin to the previous clip and bang. Everton playing good football. I can't believe my eyes. Another problem with us last year, the ball couldn't get clear out of our own penalty box. Notice it gets dicey in the box here, but Iwobi's right there for the bailout, and we're off. Iwobi gets himself into an exceptional position here to spread the defensive capabilities of West Ham. And once again, we see Alex Iwobi's forward thinking lead to opportunity. When you break it down like this, you ask yourself, why wasn't Alex Iwobi allowed to do this sooner? More subtle IQ stuff here. Watch as he takes a couple steps back to allow himself enough room to curl a shot towards goal. He forces the defender to gamble between leaving him open or not, or compromise defending Gray, and he gets awfully close to scoring. Ultimately, I think this play really goes to show how far he's come. Taking touches, beating defenders, being relieved, identifying the run and trying to make it happen, then commanding it again and taking it upon himself to score an outlandish goal. He's come so far. Not only does he offer all the traits, an all-round package of an exceptional midfielder, but mentally, the IQ, the endeavour, the confidence have all flourished with that. He deserves all the plaudits because he's evidently worked hard, and it helps when a manager instills belief and identifies your skills, so he can put his players in the best positions to flourish. Rafa Benitez did not know when he was lacking that creative spark and drive in the midfield to score goals, desperately lacking in that 14-game torrid run, he had a player who could do it, who he essentially left to rot. Differently, Frank Lampard allowed this player to act with more freedom. And what was a transitional period at the end of last season now looks like a more solidified role this season. The improved personnel in the midfield has also allowed Iwobi to run riot in the forward half, knowing defensive reinforcement will be in support and his counterparts will take the weight off his shoulders. In the extremely small sample we've seen Iwobi, Gana Gueye and Onana, they complement each other incredibly well. And I think this could benefit Iwobi further in being able to run more freely. I feel like his skill and craft in traffic with defenders on his hammer has also improved. The chemistry with his midfield partners have been brilliant. I think if there's a parameter that measures how far he's come as a player, it's gotta be his shooting. Those outside of the box shots with a low success rate. Sure, they may not go in, but he's willing to give himself an opportunity. And I think that speaks volumes with what's going on upstairs, with that mentality of his. That said, his positioning in the center of the park permits him to have higher percentage opportunities. So we could be seeing a few more goals added to that tally this season. Let's revisit those earlier points that we were monitoring in film. Iwobi simply doesn't get enough touches. Fixed. His role in the team is to close down, not to commit to a tackle. Fixed. His teammates don't utilize him enough. Fixed. He's tucked into a corner. Fixed. He doesn't get to own a part of the pitch. That's fixed. Struggling for possession. Fixed because he's doing it. Shit end product going forward. That's fixed because he's doing it. And the failure to identify strengths by the manager. Fixed. Overall, to summarize, Alex Iwobi's transformation isn't rocket science. Frank Lampard unearthed some untapped potential in his game and wasn't afraid to throw him in the deep end, which has noticeably paid off. Last season under Rafa, he was thrust away from the action and fenced off from the impact he really could have made. But under Frank, he's become a reliable all-round player, a commander in the midfield that consistently brings his all week in, week out, and is one of our most consistent performers. We've seen glimpses from the likes of Patterson and Onana and many more that could potentially follow the same formula, and I have faith in Frank Lampard. All those Michael Keane striker training videos have got me excited, thinking Lampard could potentially have another success story waiting on the sidelines on standby. Jokes aside, here's the overarching message. Don't count out managers who seem to have their backs to the wall, and the same goes for players. Alex Iwobi is living proof of that. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you soon. Bye.